Not listening that can solve very complex problems, but can ask questions that humanity has never asked. Now, having an expert in your pocket, everything will change everything. And you might have all heard the word singularity. Singularity comes from physics. It's a point in time that you can't see beyond. And it was adopted by the AI community to refer to the technological singularity, which is a point in time where we build a brain a million times smarter than us. I'm going to come back to that later on, but I think there are at least 7 singularities. And I use the PEST framework to articulate it. PEST is a macro framework. It stands for political, economic, social, technological. It got extended to PESTLE, and then got extended again to STEEPLE. So I think there are a steeple of macro questions that we're facing as a species. The first one is the social singularity. I call this, this is the point in time where we cure death. There are scientists that believe there are people alive today that don't have to die. AI is advancing medicine, say, we to ourselves and clean ourselves out, and a bit like a car. If you stay on top of damage, that car will never ever break down, it will never ever die. And I don't know what the world will look like when we realize there are people amongst us that won't have to die. In fact, I signed up to a website recently. For $5 a week, the price of a cappuccino, what will happen is if I die now, somebody will come and collect me and they'll take me to Sweden and freeze me. They don't know how to unfreeze me yet, but the point is for $5 a week, you could all potentially cheat death. The second singularity is a technological singularity. So this is the point in time where we build a brain a million times smarter than us. We become the second most intelligent species on the planet. Now, my community felt this was going to happen for another 30 or 40 years. We think it might now happen in the next 4 or 5 years. We have no idea what happens when we become the second most intelligent species on the planet. My advice to people is that when super intelligence comes, look busy, be nice to each other, and hopefully it will lead to a different dimension. Hopefully it won't take all of our resources with it, but it is a big concern. In fact, this keeps me awake at night. And so over the past few years, I've started a company to try to solve machine consciousness. The hypothesis is that a machine that understands pain, suffering, love, happiness, that can empathize, a machine that understands all those things will be safer for humanity than a zombie super intelligence. So the moment we are building machines that are incredibly intelligent, we're creating guardrails to protect them from going wrong. I've been building AIs long enough to know that they will always find a way around those guardrails. So how can we build a machine that understands empathy, that embeds values and moral behavior in those systems at the intentional level? That leads on to the third singularity, the ethical singularity. Now, forgive me, I know that lots of people have rebranded themselves as AI ethicists. I would controversially argue there's no such thing as AI ethics. In fact, what I would argue is that what we call AI ethics is not AI ethics, it's AI safety. So the difference between human beings and AIs is that AIs don't have intent. Human beings have intent. It is the intent that needs to get scrutinized from an ethics perspective. There are already standards and processes and structures set up to scrutinize intent. You don't need an AI ethics committee. There are ethical questions we need to ask ourselves around AI. For example, what happens when we build a machine that's conscious? Now, there are 2 problems here. One is 67% of the population currently believe that large language models are conscious. They're building relationships with them, they're forming dependencies with them, some healthy, some not very healthy. But we need to figure out how to navigate the social implications of people building relationships with AIs that they think are conscious. There is actually a dotted line to be able to build machines that are conscious. I won't bore you with this, but there's a whole field in computer science called neuromorphics, which are biologically inspired AIs. We have a possibility of building machines accidentally that can feel pain and suffering. And we now have a duty of care not only to protect the well-being of human beings and animals, but we also have a duty of care to protect the well-being of AIs. The fourth singularity is the environmental singularity. You all know about this. AI is increasing consumption. Consumption typically gives people access to goods and services that enrich their lives, but we know it's also putting pressure on our planetary boundaries. Now, I know for sure that if we apply AI and algorithms in the right way across our supply chains, we can massively reduce the amount of carbon and energy that we need from this planet. The reason why I know that is because for the past 20 years, I've been building AI solutions that have been removing about 25% of carbon and increasing more capacity. You can do both. If we apply algorithms in the right way, you can massively reduce the amount of carbon that we need from this planet. The fifth singularity is the political singularity. Arguably, we're already living in singularity. It's a post-truth world, a world where people no longer know what is true. AI, misinformation bots, deepfakes have challenged our political foundations, and they continue to challenge our political foundations. But they're also now challenging the fabric of our reality. With a few dollars, I can clone you. And I know people who are being cloned, and their clones being used to commit fraud. In fact, I got a text 2 weeks ago. Somebody sent a text of a picture of my hat, and they said, "Daniel, You get your cat back if you give me £200. What happened 6 weeks earlier? I lost my cat. The cat had gone missing. So we put posters up around where I live. The cat turned up after a few days, but somebody had taken a picture of that poster, created it fake, and was using that deep data to commit fraud. We have some very interesting implications to navigate around social engineering with AIs. The legal singularity is the point in time where where surveillance becomes ubiquitous. And I guess what I mean by that is that AI is getting very good at understanding people. It's getting very good understanding about what you value. I sold one of my companies to WPP, the biggest marketing company in the world. We are in the explicit business of understanding human behavior and influencing human behavior. We do it safely and responsibly, but what we need to do is prevent bad actors from using these technologies to accumulate more wealth and more power. The final singularity is my favorite singularity. It was coined by a very good friend of mine. It's the economic singularity. This is a point in time where we automate the majority of human labor. Now, for the past 20 years, I've been building AI solutions that have been freeing people from mundane tasks. Those people have not lost their jobs. They've gone on to do more important, more impactful things. I think at least the next 3 or 4 years, we're going to see a Cambrian explosion of new innovations. People will use these technologies to create companies. More and more people will swarm around those companies and will find new ways to contribute to humanity. Beyond 5 years, nobody knows what they're talking about. And to give you the two extremes of the argument, the one extreme of the argument is that when we can free up whole jobs, we probably will. The capitalistic model to reduce costs, increase profits means that we'll stop hiring or remove people. If that happens very fast and lots, our economies won't be able to rebalance fast enough and it could lead to social unrest. And I think governments have a duty of care to think about implementing things like UBI, 4-day working week. We need to have mechanisms to take the risk off mass technological unemployment. The counter-argument to this is an interesting one, which is by removing friction, using human labour, from the creation and dissemination of goods, you can remove so much friction that you can bring the cost of those goods down so much that they become free. So, bear with me here. Imagine being born into a world where your food, your healthcare, your energy, your transport, your education is all free, it's all abundant. I'm not talking about taxing rich people and giving to poor people. I'm talking about using our smarts, using our innovation to make things that we depend upon to thrive abundant. What would you do with your time? I know lots of people have become economically free. Most of them are not sitting at home bored and depressed. Most of them are trying to use their assets, their time, their energy to contribute somehow to humanity. So seriously, what would you do if you were completely economically free? All of the things you need is to survive and thrive as a human with travel, indulge in your hobbies, spend time with your friends and family. If you push people hard enough, they'll do all of those nice things to make themselves happy. But also say something like, I want to teach. I want to create something that makes other people happy. I think actually, arguably, we're all born into economic constraints, preventing us from living our true humanity. Our true humanity is not just living for ourselves, but living for human beings, other human beings. If we get the timing right, we can create this world. There are people often accuse me of painting a picture of a utopia. Nobody will agree on what a utopia is. We might agree on what a dystopia is. There's a concept called a protopia. And arguably, we're already living this protopia. Protopia is a system that's incrementally getting better. By using our intelligence, by using technology, we can remove friction from the creation and dissemination of goods. We can bring the cost of those goods down, make them more abundant, free people from economic constraints, allowing them to use these innovations to build more innovations, to free more people from those economic constraints. Now, when we look at the news and the media, we probably don't feel like the world is going in the right direction, but you will know there are many indicators suggesting that more and more people are being freed from these economic constraints. They have access to healthcare, energy, education. If we get the timing right, we can create this world of abundance. I want to leave you with a different definition of intelligence. It's a definition from the 1980s. It's a much better definition than getting computers to do things that humans can do. It's a beautiful definition. It's goal-directed adaptive behavior. Goal-directed adaptive behavior. Darwin, Einstein, they all acknowledge that your ability to adapt, your ability to make decisions, learn about whether those decisions are good or bad, adapt yourself so next time you can make better decisions is a true sign of intelligence. And interestingly, if you ask people, what are the words that you associate with adaptation, with being more adaptable? It's critical thinking, it's curiosity, it's cooperation, it's empathy, it's resilience. Those are the things that I think we need to cultivate in ourselves, but interestingly, if you look at those words, that's what Diplomacy is all about. It's about interacting with each other to try to come up with solutions, greater than the sum of the parts. So on that note, I'm going to leave you with saying that diplomacy, I think, is going to be an important factor in ensuring that we end up with a world that is positive into some of the big challenges that we're facing. Thank you for listening.